So what do we want to know about that first gay printing guy there?
Let's get all my groceries out of the way here.
It's story time with David.
Now again, this is the first job I ever had, so it would have been, I took a print class, PI Gulf Coast, okay?
Right.
And the guy that ran the class, he had an opening. So he says, okay, come work for me. And it was only, 2-3 weeks, a couple of months or whatever, and his oldest son was going to be getting out of school. So he says, well, I'm going to have to, I'm going to find you another job because I'm going to have my son coming. So he sends me on this interview. And you got to remember, I had come from small town. So I come up here to Trinity to Houston in 1976, 77. No, been earlier than that. 75, 76. And I remember going back and I said, that guy's here. And he says, well, I want you to work for him, not sleep with him. So I ended up having to take that job. So anyway, I learned a lot there, and I worked there for several years, and this one little guy that he got, Gary, had the little pointy, stickly type mustache and everything,
Dennis Gage?
Well, the ones where the hair stuck straight out, it didn't grow down, I guess that was for poking around the making sure they were stimulated,
That's better than
we had come in one morning. There had been a hell.
I just ate, dude. Seriously.
Hey, you were the one who was asking if I was going to be able to keep my food down earlier.
That's the Richard Gere stuff.
You have no idea what I've done.
Yeah.
You have no idea what I've done in that truck. Alright, let's get back to the story. We only got so much video.
Well, anyway, it had been a hell of a storm the night before, so we were all in there, we were talking about how nasty the storm was. Yeah, man, there was limbs blowing and all kinds of stuff and everything. And this little Gary guy, he was over on the Xerox machine. He goes, well, hell, if I would have known that, I would have made him get off of me and I would have gone out and looked at it. Oh, God, I need too much information.
That makes me think of, did you ever see the movie Airplane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, sweet, the Dodgers are, in the playoffs and like all that shit, and everybody's commenting on the newspaper, and then the gay guy gets a hold of it. He goes, "There's a sale at JCPenney." So like, Johnson, what do you make of this? He's like, well, I can make a tie or a hat.
That's a great movie.
Well, of course, the funny thing was too that the owner of this print shop, his name was Mike Reuter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reuter. That was a good name. Huh? They used to call him Root Hog. Yep.
So if lesbians are clam bumpers, then what are the guys then?
I never did come up with anything for that, but the females were clam bumpers. And old Reuter, he ended up getting a hold of the back too, because he ended up getting died years later. I swear to God, I saw him because I started my own little paper house, and I saw him over at what's the name of that place? Not Fast Clamp, but the one that's over on West Park. Palmer Paper Company. And I remember it was funny as hell. So anyway, walking there, oh, David, how you doing? And he comes over and he shakes my hand. And I guess because I knew that he was and everything, and so we would do it like you were.
Was it like the Catholic priest?
You act like you're Mike Reuter.
So was it like that?
No, it was a legitimate handshake, but as soon as I got done, I did this shit. And I wasn't even paying attention, but I know he was looking.
Talking about the Catholic priest handshake. Have you ever had one of those? No, watch.
I don't think so.
Where they go like,
I'm sure you want one of those either.
watch, seriously.
Yeah, man.
Where they go like that?
Oh, come on. No, that's one of them.
I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not 8 years old, but
That's one of them
Not
noodle
Father
shakes.
Leininger, he would grab your hand and be like, I'm going to crush you.
yeah, but that's because he doesn't have a soft spot for little kids.
Because he looked like Darth Vader, that helped.
All she ever wore was snap-up Western shirts with the snaps and one of those muscle shirts, the ribbed undershirts. That was her idea.
Wife beaters?
No, just the tight top.
That's what we call it now.
Where they had all the stripes in them that you could literally feel.
It's a wife beater.
That's what we call a wife beater now.
Okay. Well, she used to wear those.
It's like one of our
Beater, I guess.
And the cowboy boots, snap-up Western shirts, and the the double knit Western pants.
I guess we know who's on top.
And yeah, she was the dude.
Exactly.
And she used to smoke a pipe.
Oh God. That's it. I mean, that's the icing on the cake right there.
A pipe.
She smokes a pipe. I've never seen a woman
Did she
smoke
have
a
short
pipe.
hair too?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
No mullet?
No, but
So what? She didn't want to party in the back?
the short hair and the glasses and smoked the pipe and shit. And there was a couple of customers that gave her a hard time too. And it was weird. I mean, I guess in a way I got over my phobia working there. So I guess in a
I
way
think
it was
that's called
good.
homophobia.
That reminds me back in summer school, freshman year, because I got diabetes halfway through the year, so I was out of school for like 2.5 weeks. So I was so far behind I couldn't make the grade, and stayed at my friend's house the night before because we were kind of messing around with alcohol and things got carried away, and I had to I puked all over my shirt, so I had to borrow a shirt from him to go to class, and the only one he had clean, besides the one that he wore, was this one that said Las Vegas, your girl's a casino, and then on the back it was this chick with a whip and these assless chaps. It said liquor in the front, poker in the back. The minute I walked through the door, I didn't even make it this far through the door, and the principal goes, "Mr. Banks," and pulls me over, and he goes, "You either turn that inside out or find another shirt." And I was like, all right, and I turned it inside out. And it had some other on the back, on the inside, it says, "Doesn't look like this from the outside, now does it?" Some kind of female anatomy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I was just like, and from then on, I was known as, they gave me some kind of weird erotic nickname. It was funny.
I got sent home from high school when I went to Dulles for wearing a Pantera shirt with a Confederate flag on it.
Well, yeah, but that's Dulles.
It was what was the name of their album that they had with something about Southern Trendkill or something like that. You used to listen to Pantera.
I never really listened to Pantera.
Oh.
Cemetery Gates.
Yeah.
Chris, if I brought him here, you'd know him. But
Yeah.
So Chris and I were with David Brent at Hooters, and between the two of us, between me and him, getting my truck to go home, and I'm starting to get a real stiff going, and this to the point where I'm just like, wow, the road likes to go this way. And so I get in the truck, I open the door, and before I can even get in, the door swings back and hits me and knocks me on my ass. And I get up, and I'm like, oh. Alright. So I get in the truck, and I'm like, I'm fine. Drive all the way home, and it was the night that it was really clear, and all those cars packed into autos, and it was the first night that you met the guy with the 70.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, when it had all those vintage Trans Ams,
Right.
and there was that yellow Chevelle and
Yep.
everything. So, I was actually, when the door hit me, I was putting my camera back in my car, and I drive all the way home, and the minute I get there, I realize just how I am, and I get out, I grab the camera, and I shut the door, and I turn around to go in the house, and the driveway kind of goes like that, and next thing I know, I'm picking myself up off the floor, and I got pine needles on my face. I'm like, so, I brushed off, and I go in the house, and my parents wanted to know when I got home, so I knocked on the door. I was like, "Hey, Dad, I'm home," and I'm standing there like this in the doorway, and he can't see me because he's still half asleep, and I lock up the house and go upstairs, and I start putting the pictures on my MySpace. I got all the captions wrong. All of them. The Trans Ams were Camaros, and
Yeah, I called you the next day.
when I was completely...
Did I call you the next day, or did I call you that night?
You may have called me at night, but I was too drunk to do anything.
No. I think I called you the next day because I think after you left, I think I passed out.
Yeah.
Was Brent here?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm sure we were up till 7 in the morning. Just when Brent's here, that's what happens.
Well, I mean,
But,
I got
I
all the
remember
captions
that.
wrong. And my friend Trevor, who I swear has been into GM ever since he was old enough to talk, leaves all these image comments, and his last, he's just like, you got this wrong, and then he lists what it is, and then at the end he's like, "I'm gonna kill you." When in the hell has a 66 Mustang convertible been a Camaro? He's like, "When I get back in Houston, I promise you I'm gonna kick you through the uprights like a in field goal.
It was funny because I saw the comments. I saw the I don't know if I saw the comments he left you. I think you probably deleted them before they went on your page.
because I had to confirm.
But I was calling him. I was like, dude, you know, that Buick or whatever you said was a Oldsmobile or whatever was a Buick, and the one that you said was a Camaro was a Firebird, and you even got some of the Mopars wrong. And I was like,
I was like, damn. If that's any kind of indication as to how drunk I was. But I mean, I wake up in the morning and I'm sweating already because, you know, I mean, alcohol makes you sweat. But my entire bed smells like beer. I'm like, oh, fuck, and I hear this knock on the door, and I'm like, great, this isn't gonna get any better because I've blinds on my windows in my room, but they let light through in the morning, so you know it's already making my head hurt. And my dad comes in, he goes, "You all right?" I'm like, "I'm just really tired." And then the minute he gets out of there, I'm ripping the sheets off my bed, trying to hide them, you know, go put them in the laundry before he realizes just how bad they smell.
Was that the night you fed the squirrels?
No, because I stayed here that night, remember?
Oh, that's right, because
Yeah, I threw up in his flower beds a couple weeks later. And even then on New Year's, remember? My parents went to...
Well, next time you need to puke, we need to go by Maru's house.
I don't think I have that much control over it by the time I know I need
Yeah,
to.
we'll hop on the four-wheeler and all that's over there.
Put in the bucket, take it over to Dave's.
Just say bag it and bring it over later.
Survive that ride by the time you get over there and good and ready to puke.
At New Year's, though, we were at David's friend Seth's house, or Cecil.
We were at Cecil
Seth's
and Melanie
parents'
house.
We were there, and I'm completely plastered. I had 3 Double Crown Royals, 3 things of champagne, a beer, and 3 Bacardis. Or Kahluas.
Yeah, and then
Kahluas. I'm sitting there, and I'm toasted. I mean, I can't even. It was like I had a speech impediment. I couldn't put a sentence together.
you were toasting everyone.
Yeah. Well, my
like
favorite
doing all
one was
these
here's to
dramatic,
you,
you know,
here's
like-
to me, and should we ever part ways and disagree? F you, here's to me.
Like, I want to propose a
Yeah, and everyone's looking at me like, wow.
I'd like to toast to everyone here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I am drunk.
Yeah.
It was just about like that.
Megan was there that night, and she looks at me and she goes, "How much have you drunken? I mean, dranken?" I was like, "No, I'm drunken." And people start laughing, and my family was at a family friend of ours' house, and they have like hardwood floors all over the house, and my dad was wearing dress shoes, and he fell going down the stairs, but he'd done it the week before. So my brother calls me and he goes, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And I was like, "Not much, what's up with you?" And I'm sitting there, I'm like, "Okay, think as you talk and you won't slur your words."
Alright.
And he goes, "Oh, that's cool. Dad come down the stairs again." Like, just kind of matter-of-factly. And I was like, "Oh, that sucks." So, you know, I call him at midnight and I was like, "Hey, Dad, Happy New Year." He goes, "Happy New Year. You been drinking?" I was like, "No." He goes, "You sound like you've had a few." And I'm sitting there. I was like, "Yeah, a few past 7." So I'm sitting there, and I was like, "No, I was sleeping on the couch until like 10 minutes ago. David woke me up just for midnight." And he's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And I got back to the house, and I'm hungover. I'm wearing my sunglasses, and I walk through the door, and my dad goes, "Hey, Nick." I was like, "Hey." He goes, "You all right?" And before I could be like, no, I'm hungover, I was like, "Are you all right?" And he just didn't say anything. He just kind of looks at me like, "You cocky little." And I walked through the door and just went upstairs and passed out again.
That night was fun. I mean, actually,
That was badass.
the thing about that night was kind of bad was my mom was in the hospital, and they released her in the middle of the night, and Nick went with me to go and bring her home, and then we put her to bed.
Ever.
And he was drunk, and we
She
left.
was seeing Satan.
We left out of Cecil and Melanie's house. We went and got my mom, picked her up, brought her back over here, put her to bed, and then I started drinking because I hadn't been drinking all night because I knew that they were going to probably release her in the middle of the night. And then he was still drunk, but then I was like, I got to catch up.
Isn't that how it always goes?
So shit, I need to hurry. So yeah,
I
so
like
I
to get
mean,
drunk in the beginning of the night and then sober up so I can go to sleep. Otherwise, when I lie down, the room spins and I puke.
well, I like to get so drunk I don't know.
Just gotta bring your foot down.
Well, last time he was drinking.
Yeah, that trick doesn't work. Put your old
Last
foot out.
time-
Shit, let me tell you.
3 in the morning and he's had 16 beers and I'm completely stone cold sober, and he can't stand up.
Yeah, look, last time sucked, but the New Year's thing, the New Year's was cool because that was the night that we stayed up until about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
And
It
he
was
belly
sun was
flopped
up.
in the front yard.
Yeah, and I went and ran out in the front yard in my boxers and belly flopped in the grass.
And he wakes up, he's like, Nick, why do I have grass in my bed and all these marks all over my chest?
I mean, what's going on?
Well, I mean, even last time when he got drunk, I was trying to get him to, trying to put him in his room so he would go to sleep. He was tripping over the couch, and he's on the floor, and I couldn't let him stand up by himself, and I put his arm over my shoulders so I can, hold him up, and he's going like this, and I'm like, dude, drink some water. And there was one on the coffee table in the living room, and I was like, here, he's like, I don't want that. I was like, why not, dude, it's water. He goes, it's get it away from me. I'm like,
I don't remember any of
so I get him another water, and he drinks it, and then and we go into his room, and I go to put him in bed, and it turns out that he hadn't made the bed yet.
I remember
The
that.
sheets are all just folded up on the bed, and I'm like, so I just sit him down in the chair and he's making the bed, putting everything up there, and he goes, dude. I was like, what, David? And he's trying to get up out of the chair, and he's going like this, and it's not working, but he's too drunk to put his left hand up on the armrest because he's leaning on it, so he's like trying to fight himself with his right arm. And I was like, come here, I helped him stand up. He goes, I just wanted to say that you made the bed really badass. So I was like, dude, you're drunk as I was like, you're so drunk, dude. And I take his cell phone from him and I put the glass of water on his bedside table, and he just kind of goes to grab his phone and falls over and knocks the water all over the floor.
Oh, no.
I'm like, so eventually I put him in bed, and I make him lie down in bed, and I was like, dude, go to sleep. And he's like, I'm like, go to sleep. Close your eyes. You're like, hey. I'm like, go to sleep. And he was like, nah. Can I? I was like, nah. Go to sleep. And you're like, yeah. Can I? I was like, I went like that, and the minute I did, he goes. And that was the end of it. I wake him up in the morning, and he's like, dude, what happened last night? And I had to retell this entire story, and he didn't remember any of it. And I'm like, man, because I'd had 4 Boddingtons and one Bud Light.
I don't know what you had, but
You had
I
16
know
beers.
that. Yeah, that's insane. I mean, I know that I can.
Some shit that we used to do.
I can handle 8 to 10. Well, 10 beers easily without, especially if I eat a lot, without really having any problems, without blanking out, without getting weird, And but yeah, I mean, 16 is a lot of damn beer, and I know what happened. It was that usually he's drinking more of the beer, so I'm just assuming that however many are left, that we're
I've had half of them.
Yeah. So every time I go in there, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool, and then I just keep drinking, and I'm thinking, well, that's all right. Nick's drinking them too. I'm not the only one drinking these, and
Yeah, and coffee table, and he's already starting to get worse, and he's like, go on, keep drinking, don't go to sleep, don't do this, why aren't you drinking, what's wrong, man? And I was like, dude, I just know I'm going to pass out, and if I pass out, it's going to piss you off even more. And you're like, well, you going to drink that? And I was like, no. So he just
Susan Myrick, that was that bitch's name.
that was about that.
Lord, that was a bitch that threw up all over the backseat of my 74 Volkswagen. Another thing that happened to that little piece of car, never did smell the same. Damn, James Taylor, get that bitch out of the backseat of my car. Goddamn, I don't care what you do with her. Yeah, that was her brother. That Jerry Myrick. I used to know it pretty well, but I do remember one time that we had a field trip. and we were going to, we were coming to Houston to go to something. It must have been to NASA or something. And it was supposed to be, I don't know what the hell it was supposed to be, but he did all of his, and I only did half of mine, and I wasn't getting off. It was some kind of brown. Yeah, the old brown.
What?
Yeah, the brown. So he did all his, and I only did half of mine. I wasn't getting off, And it'd been plenty of time, so I did the rest of mine. Too much. Too much. I don't know what it was. I think it was horse tranquilizer or something.
Was it
Yep. No, not way back then. I don't think it was.
It would have been.
This was early 1970s. They didn't even have back then.
What was coming out back then, right around there?
But I remember going home and not even being able to walk, and this was really weird for me because I was party animal. It was like, no, I think y'all need to take me home. And for me, that was unheard of. And I remember walking in the trailer. My mom says, well, what's going on or whatever, and it's like, I'm sure to her my voice sounded normal, but to me it sounded like it was real high and squeaky.
Like
Maru.
Like Maru, except it didn't smell bad. So
I know what you're talking about. When you hear your voice sounding,
that's the way it sounded to me.
That you're sounding weird and you're trying to compensate for it.
But I've never been so freaked out my whole life. I didn't sleep at all that night. I was wigging and stuff the whole night, and I had to get up early for that field trip. And I remember getting up the next morning, taking one step out of the bed, and falling flat on my face.
Damn.
I've never been like that. I mean, no matter what we did, it was like, no, let's do some more, but that's it.
That actually reminds me of the
one bad trip that I ever had.
Well, I mean, the first time I with my brother, I got a hold of what they call ponic, and like the term potent is actually the way it's defined as. That's
You're gonna teach me something.
Yeah, that's how they say it. It's like, is it good? Is it good?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So, we get this
I
blueberry.
used to say that too when I was in high
We get this
school.
Wow.
and we sit there and we pack this. And my brother was like, dude, since I've never with you before, and it's just the two of us hanging out, you get to break it open, which is you first. So it was not that big party, and we sit there and the whole like this tall just clouds up, and I pull the air conditioner, smoke would go up.
Oh, is that how it works?
Gee, I wonder if you know, Dave.
Yeah,
You're supposed to inhale it?
So, I'm
about it, but I never inhaled.
You just snorted it.
He alienated a whole generation when he said that, because everybody knew that was bullshit.
Well, the thing is that I take this huge and it feels like there's like ants on the inside of my chest crawling across, that like itchy kind of like sensation when you got ants on your hands.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it feels like that only on the inside. So what you do, that's what's going to make you cough. So you hit your chest, because it stops you from doing that.
I've never had this.
Are you hearing this?
Yeah, dude, this is some heavy shit, man.
No, I've bud in my day, but I've never heard that before.
This is some...
That was it straight up?
It might have been, but
I literally just slapped my knee, Dave.
the thing is, though, when you break open the balls and stuff.
No!
Well, because I mean, the cheap it's not in there. And the minute I let it out,
Is that what that mo- is? Looks like it's growing on all that white crap.
What is wrong with you? Have you had any of these? But anyway, so, like,
Preaching to the choir, boy!
but I let it out, right? I let it out, and it honestly
He's going to keep on preaching, too.
It feels like the entire fucking wall in front of you just goes like whoosh, like right away from me, and it feels like when you're sitting at the front of the movie theater and you're like this, looking up at the screen.
How long ago was this?
Nick, you're reading the book that Dave wrote.
What do you think he did in that 74 Volkswagen?
I've been to all the back seat.
99 bucks.
Volkswagen.
Why do you think he bought a Volkswagen in the first place?
Like, I mean,
And at the end, about filling up the car with the pipe and getting out and laughing at it. And then going to the Tasty Freeze and wondering why everybody was looking at us weird.
yeah.
Damn, them boys stink.
Actually, the worst thing is when you're at
Did you ever roll
Shipley's.
down the windows?
Oh, hell no.
No.
You just get fill it up and start blowing. Car fills up.
No, but I mean, you're at Shipley's, right? Me and my brother were at Shipley's because, you know, donuts are
that.
fucking cheap.
Well, let me tell you. And he had a 72 Chevelle Super Sport. That's his biggest car.
You taking pictures and he just flipped me off. Every time I take a picture, he flipped me up in the food truck.
But anyway, there was several guys there in town, and it was like an old farmhouse. Okay, and it was still off in the farmland. It was my parents' house, but it still had running water, still had electricity and everything, and they used to have all this.
It was a farmhouse on farmland?
Yeah, it was off in the farmland. Yeah, you know, like off the dirt road. I mean,
So it
a
was a
mile.
farmhouse in the city?
No, it was out of the small town, in the country, out of the small town.
What do I usually do?
And anyway, Duffy had the 72 Chevelle. I love that
Yeah, you
car.
can take pictures for him.
Used to love that car. Well, anyway, we used to go out to this house where they'd all play.
Put
They,
on auto.
had a band. They go out there to practice. So we go out there, and they're all, smoking everything, passing around and stuff. And I don't know what I was thinking. I guess being a young kid and everything, I was thinking, you're gonna take off this thing, and it's gonna be like I don't know what the hell you were expecting or whatever. But I remember eventually, and I was doing this. I was off in the corner, and I just remember them all laughing at me because I was by far the youngest one there, and they were all laughing. Oh, you're I said, oh, cool. Is that what it is? Oh, this is cool. And all I remember is that when I got home, I was starving. Absolutely starving. Had the fucking craving munchies big time. Of course, that was the beginning of the end.
Well, I mean,
But anyway, we ended up wrecking that Chevelle.
Well, I mean, the first.
Not that night. But
Is that the story about the Chevelle?
different story. Me and Duffy, it was a Friday afternoon, and of course Fridays in small towns, it's football.
yeah.
So we had that particular Friday. It was an out-of-town game. So we had the Chevelle all cleaned up. It was silver with the black vinyl top and black stripes. SS 454, nice cowl induction. It was a nice car because back then the car probably had 20,000 miles on it, and there were marinas up at Lake Livingston, and this one particular marina, Galloway's, they had the telephone poles were in the middle of the road.
All right.
And they had, you either had to go around one way or the other. And it was the time of year, I want to say it was probably late August, early September, October, where the sun is at that angle. And the sun was real low. Duffy had his headphones plugged in, so he didn't hear what I said. We were listening to Zeppelin. And he had and I had and I looked back and I said, telephone pole. And he nods, but he's nodding because of the music. And by the time I look up, here's this telephone pole. Wham! We center punched it. We were only doing about 30, fortunately, but it still totaled that car. I mean, we hit the windshield coming back because of the way the sun was. Everything was in slow motion. You could see the little particles of glass. My head punched the windshield. His head punched the windshield. My knee busted a little triangle piece out of his glove compartment. My teeth put 4 holes into his vinyl dash. Locked the transmission in drive. Pulled the hood pins through the hood. So we get out, we figured it's going to be going crazy. There's going to be people swarming on this car. Nobody ever came. We had to walk half a mile up to the marina and call his dad and have him come pick us up.
With your still?
No, got lost. I don't know what happened, but the bad thing was that was the first I had ever bought. And I thought, man, somebody's trying to tell me something. So I gave Duffy. I said, here, man, take it. I don't want it. Well, the next day I wanted it back.
Here, I'll smoke it with you.
But that was the last nice car that he ever had. From that time on, he drove pieces of shit.
74 Beetles?
Worse than that. Worse than the 74 Beetle.
75 Beatles.
But that's probably the beginning of my fascination with Chevelles and stuff, because there was another guy in town that had one too.
Well, because you get stoned and wrecked one in the afternoon.
They were just bad.